The early morning hours provide a unique opportunity for self-mastery, one that is often overlooked in modern life. At 5 a.m., the world is still, distractions are minimal, and external demands have yet to intrude upon your mind. It is during this time that an individual can take charge of their own life before the chaos of the day inevitably unfolds. Without a structured approach, life tends toward disorder. Responsibilities pile up, unexpected interruptions arise, and competing demands pull you in multiple directions. If you wait until later in the day to impose order on your life, you are already behind. By waking up at 5 a.m., you create a psychological and practical advantage over the chaos that would otherwise dictate your actions. The fundamental problem most people face is that they operate in a reactive mode rather than a proactive one. They wake up at the last possible moment, scramble to get ready, and then find themselves at the mercy of their environment. They check their phones, respond to messages, and allow external pressures to dictate their mental state. This is a dangerous way to live because it leaves no room for intentionality. Instead of directing their lives, they are constantly responding to circumstances outside their control. Waking up early is an assertion of autonomy. It is a declaration that you will take control of your own time before the demands of the world infringe upon it. From a psychological perspective, the early morning represents a state of potential. The mind is fresh, unburdened by the accumulation of stressors that build throughout the day. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational decision-making and problem-solving, is at its peak capacity in the morning. This is why the early hours are ideal for engaging in deep work, structuring your goals, and setting the tone for the rest of the day. If you do not take advantage of this window of heightened mental clarity, you squander one of the most valuable resources at your disposal. Those who understand this principle use the early morning to engage in activities that enhance their long-term trajectory. Reading, writing, exercising, or working on meaningful projects that require focused attention. There is a profound symbolic aspect to waking up early as well. In many ways, it is a microcosm of how an individual approaches life. If you consistently wake up late feeling rushed and unprepared, that pattern is likely to manifest in other areas. You will be less disciplined in your habits, less structured in your thinking, and more prone to procrastination. The opposite is also true. If you train yourself to rise before the rest of the world, you send a powerful message to your own psyche. You are someone who takes responsibility for your life. You are not merely drifting through existence, but actively shaping it. This small but significant act of discipline compounds over time, influencing your confidence, sense of control, and overall effectiveness. One of the greatest benefits of waking up at 5 a.m. is the ability to work on long-term goals without immediate interference. Many people struggle to make progress in life because they are constantly caught up in short-term obligations. They spend their entire day putting out fires, responding to emails, and addressing urgent but ultimately unimportant tasks. The result is stagnation. Years pass, yet they find themselves in the same place, unable to break free from the cycle of busyness. The solution to this dilemma lies in the early morning hours. When you wake up before everyone else, you gain uninterrupted time to focus on what truly matters. You can engage in strategic thinking, work on creative projects, or develop new skills that will elevate your future self. From a biological standpoint, the human body is designed to function optimally in alignment with natural circadian rhythms. While artificial lighting and modern technology have disrupted these rhythms, our physiology is still attuned to the cycle of the sun. In the early hours of the morning, cortisol levels rise naturally, promoting wakefulness and alertness. This biological mechanism exists for a reason. It prepares the body for action. If you capitalize on this natural energy surge by engaging in productive activities, you reinforce your body's natural rhythms and create a sustainable pattern of high performance. Conversely, if you sleep through this period, delaying wakefulness until the day is already in motion, you deprive yourself of this biological advantage. Waking up early is not just about productivity. It is also about mental clarity and emotional stability. Many people struggle with stress, anxiety, and overwhelm because they never give themselves time to think. Their days are consumed by external noise, social media, news, work obligations, and the opinions of others. They have no space for introspection, no time to process their emotions or reflect on their trajectory. The early morning provides a rare opportunity for solitude, a time when the mind can operate without interference. It is in these quiet moments that individuals can engage in meaningful self-reflection, clarify their priorities, and cultivate a sense of inner peace. Without this time, life becomes a blur of activity, devoid of deliberate thought or true understanding. There is also a social advantage to waking up early. In any competitive domain, business, academia, athletics, or creative fields, those who rise early tend to outperform their peers. This is not a coincidence. The extra hours gained in the morning accumulate over weeks, months, and years, creating a significant advantage. While others are still asleep, those who wake up at 5 a.m. are already working toward their goals. They are reading, learning, training, and refining their craft. This accumulation of effort leads to exponential results over time. Many of the most successful individuals in history, leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries, have been known to wake up early, not because they were naturally inclined to do so, but because they understood the power of disciplined routines. Developing the habit of waking up at 5 a.m. requires effort, especially for those who have conditioned themselves to wake up late. However, the difficulty of the task is precisely what makes it valuable. Anything that requires discipline and self-sacrifice contributes to personal growth. The process of forcing yourself to wake up early, despite the initial resistance, builds mental toughness, a trait that carries over into every other area of life. Those who learn to override their immediate desires in favor of long-term benefits become the kind of people who succeed in any endeavor they pursue. They develop resilience, willpower, and a heightened sense of personal agency. Many people struggle with motivation because they lack a structured routine. They wait for inspiration to strike before taking action. But this is a flawed approach. Motivation is fleeting. It cannot be relied upon. What matters is discipline. And discipline is built through consistent, intentional habits. Waking up at 5 a.m. is a concrete way to instill discipline into your life. It removes the need for decision-making in the morning because the habit becomes automatic. Instead of debating whether to wake up or stay in bed, you simply get up and begin your day with purpose. Over time, this practice rewires your brain, making discipline a natural part of your identity rather than a struggle. The act of waking up early also instills a sense of momentum. When you start your day with a disciplined decision, it creates a positive feedback loop. One good decision leads to another. You are more likely to exercise, eat healthily, and engage in productive work because you have already set a precedent for self-discipline. Conversely, if you begin your day in a state of disorganization, hitting snooze multiple times, rushing through your morning, and starting the day feeling behind, this sets a negative tone that can be difficult to reverse. The way you start your morning often dictates the way you handle the rest of your day. The ability to master one's morning is a fundamental aspect of mastering one's life. If you control the first few hours of your day, you control the structure of your existence. Those who neglect this principle remain trapped in a cycle of reaction, never truly taking command of their own destiny. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not just about getting out of bed early. It is about taking responsibility for your time, your habits, and ultimately your life trajectory. Human beings exist within a structured reality, whether they acknowledge it or not. This structure is not arbitrary. It is deeply rooted in biological, psychological, and even historical principles that have shaped the way individuals function at their best. There is a reason why certain behaviors produce success while others lead to dysfunction. Rising at 5 a.m. aligns an individual with the fundamental order of existence, allowing them to operate in accordance with natural laws rather than fighting against them. Those who understand this principle recognize that their habits must be structured in ways that reflect deeper patterns of order. Waking up early is not just about gaining more time, it is about attuning oneself to the mechanisms of success that have always governed human life. The way an individual structures their morning is a reflection of their relationship with reality itself. If you begin the day in chaos, waking up late, feeling rushed, and scrambling to meet obligations, you start your existence each morning on unstable footing. This instability compounds over time, creating a life filled with disorder, stress, and misalignment with meaningful goals. On the other hand, if you rise early and impose structure on your morning, you are actively engaging in a process that brings clarity and stability to your actions. This is not a superficial productivity hack. It is a fundamental realignment with the principles of success that have been observed throughout human history. The natural rhythms of the world suggest that there are optimal times for different types of work. For thousands of years, people have risen with the sun, using the early hours of the day for the most critical tasks. This was not a coincidence. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking, problem solving, and decision making, is most active in the morning. Scientific studies confirm that willpower is highest at the start of the day and steadily declines as mental fatigue sets in. This means that the hours immediately after waking up are when an individual is best equipped to engage in deep, meaningful work. If these hours are wasted on trivial activities, the mind becomes progressively less capable of tackling significant challenges. When a person wakes up early, they step into the flow of natural order rather than resisting it. The world is quieter, distractions are minimal, and the ability to focus is heightened. There is a stark difference between attempting to do high-level thinking early in the morning and trying to do the same work in the middle of a chaotic day. Many people struggle with productivity not because they lack intelligence or ambition, but because they attempt to do difficult cognitive tasks at the wrong times. If you try to engage in deep work when your mind is already exhausted from a day filled with stress, interruptions, and constant decision-making, your cognitive capacity is diminished. By aligning with natural cycles of focus and mental energy, you gain an advantage that compounds over time. There is also a biological component to this reality. The body's circadian rhythm, which regulates sleep, energy levels, and hormone production, follows a predictable pattern. Cortisol, often referred to as the stress hormone, naturally peaks in the early morning, preparing the body for wakefulness and alertness. This is not an arbitrary phenomenon. It is a mechanism that evolved to ensure survival. In ancient times, those who woke up early had a strategic advantage. They could prepare for the day's challenges, secure resources, and make critical decisions before potential threats emerged. Today, this same principle applies, though in a different context. Those who rise early take control of their environment before external demands impose themselves. Sleep cycles also play a crucial role in cognitive function. The quality of sleep is just as important as its duration. People who stay up late often disrupt their natural sleep patterns, leading to fatigue, brain fog, and decreased mental performance. When you wake up early and consistently follow a structured sleep routine, your body adapts to this pattern, resulting in more restorative sleep. This means that an individual who wakes up at 5 a.m. and follows a disciplined sleep schedule will feel more refreshed and cognitively sharp than someone who wakes up later, even if both individuals get the same amount of sleep. The alignment with natural rhythms enhances brain function, energy levels, and overall well-being. The impact of rising early extends beyond mere productivity. It influences an individual's sense of control over their own life. When a person aligns their habits with reality, they develop a sense of mastery over their environment. They are not simply reacting to circumstances, they are actively shaping their trajectory. This creates a powerful psychological effect. Confidence, self-respect, and a sense of purpose begin to emerge. On the contrary, those who wake up late often feel as though they are constantly catching up, struggling to keep pace with the demands of the world. They begin each day with a sense of loss rather than achievement. Over time, this erodes their confidence, reinforcing a mindset of helplessness rather than competence. In a world where distractions are ever present, the ability to carve out structured, uninterrupted time is invaluable. The modern environment bombards individuals with stimuli, emails, social media notifications, and endless sources of digital noise. These interruptions fracture attention, making it difficult to engage in sustained, meaningful work. Waking up at 5 a.m. provides a buffer against this constant stream of distractions. And during the early hours, there is an absence of external demands. No emails are flooding in, no phone calls are ringing, and the rest of the world is still asleep. This creates a rare opportunity for deep concentration, allowing individuals to engage in work that requires their full intellectual capacity. The connection between rising early and long-term success is well documented. Many of history's most accomplished individuals followed early morning routines. This is not because they were naturally inclined to wake up early, but because they understood the benefits of aligning with structured reality. Leaders, thinkers, and innovators across different domains, from business to science to the arts, have leveraged the early hours to gain an edge over their peers. This principle holds true across time and culture. The greatest advancements in human civilization were not made by those who passively floated through life, reacting to whatever came their way. They were made by those who actively structured their time, imposed discipline on their habits, and worked in alignment with deep principles of order. There is also a moral dimension to waking up early. It represents a commitment to discipline and responsibility. Many of life's greatest struggles arise from a failure to impose structure on one's own existence. People who are undisciplined in one area often find that this lack of discipline seeps into other aspects of their lives. Someone who consistently wakes up late may also struggle with procrastination, disorganization, and a general lack of direction. On the other hand, those who master the habit of rising early often find that it positively influences other behaviors. They become more intentional about their goals, more organized in their thinking, and more capable of handling adversity. The psychological benefits of waking up early extend beyond personal success. They also contribute to a greater sense of meaning. Human beings derive meaning from structure. A life devoid of routine, discipline, and purpose is a life filled with anxiety and aimlessness. When individuals impose order on their mornings, they create a foundation upon which a meaningful life can be built. They establish a sense of control over their actions, which in turn fosters a sense of purpose. The simple act of waking up early, therefore, is not just about gaining extra hours. It is about structuring one's existence in accordance with principles that lead to fulfillment. There is a deeper philosophical point to be made here. Life contains suffering, chaos, and uncertainty. The best way to navigate this reality is through the imposition of order, and that order begins with the most fundamental aspects of daily life. If you cannot control something as basic as when you wake up, how can you expect to master the larger, more complex challenges that life presents? The process of waking up at 5 a.m. is a tangible, concrete way to practice the discipline necessary to confront the inevitable struggles of life. It is a commitment to structure, to rationality, and to the alignment of one's actions with the deep truths that govern success and meaning. Discipline is the foundation of a successful life. It is what separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain stagnant. Without discipline, chaos reigns, and people fall into patterns of procrastination, failure, and regret. Waking up at 5 a.m. is one of the simplest but most powerful ways to develop discipline. It is a daily battle against comfort, and winning that battle strengthens the ability to overcome greater challenges in life. Those who cultivate discipline in the small things, such as waking up early, are far better equipped to tackle the larger obstacles that inevitably arise. The moment the alarm clock rings at 5 a.m., a decision must be made. Do you give in to immediate gratification by staying in bed, or do you override that impulse and get up? That decision, repeated every day, builds the foundation of a disciplined mindset. People often assume that discipline is something that comes naturally to certain individuals, as if some are simply born with a stronger willpower than others. This is a mistake. Discipline is not an innate trait. It is a skill that must be developed through consistent practice. Every time a person chooses to delay gratification, they strengthen their ability to act in accordance with long-term goals rather than short-term comfort. Waking up at 5 a.m. is a daily test of this principle. It is uncomfortable, it is difficult, but that is precisely why it is valuable. The more an individual forces themselves to wake up early, the more they develop a mental resilience that can be applied to every other area of life. Those who master small acts of discipline gain control over larger aspects of their existence. Most people struggle to achieve their goals not because they lack intelligence or ability, but because they fail to consistently do what is necessary. They know what they should be doing, but they lack the discipline to follow through. They plan to exercise, but they skip workouts. They intend to eat healthy, but they give in to junk food. They set ambitious goals, but they never take action. This failure is not due to a lack of knowledge, it is a failure of self-discipline. Waking up at 5 a.m. is a way to train the ability to act despite resistance. When an individual forces themselves to wake up early, even when they don't feel like it, they are practicing the habit of doing what is necessary rather than what is easy. Over time, this habit extends to every other aspect of life. A person who can control when they wake up can also control their work ethic, their habits, and their ability to follow through on commitments. The most dangerous habit a person can develop is the habit of negotiation with themselves. When the alarm clock rings, the mind immediately begins to generate excuses. 5 more minutes won't hurt. I went to bed late, so I need the extra sleep. It's too cold to get out of bed. These justifications seem harmless in the moment, but they establish a pattern of self-deception. Every time a person makes an excuse, they reinforce the idea that their feelings should dictate their actions. This is the exact opposite of discipline. Discipline means doing what needs to be done, regardless of mood, motivation, or convenience. By waking up at 5 a.m., an individual learns to shut down the voice of excuses and act decisively. This ability is invaluable in all areas of life. The person who refuses to negotiate with themselves in the morning is the same person who refuses to negotiate with themselves when it comes to their goals. There is a biological component to self-discipline as well. The human brain is wired to conserve energy and seek comfort. In evolutionary terms, this made sense. Early humans needed to be efficient with their energy because food was scarce and survival was difficult. But in the modern world, this instinct works against people. Comfort is abundant, and the easiest choices are usually the worst ones. If a person allows themselves to default to comfort, they will never push themselves to grow. Waking up at 5 a.m. is an intentional rejection of comfort. It is a decision to embrace challenge, to override the brain's tendency toward laziness, and to take control of one's actions. This practice strengthens the neural pathways associated with discipline, making it easier to make difficult choices in the future. Another critical aspect of discipline is consistency. Many people attempt to be disciplined in short bursts, but they lack the ability to sustain it. They wake up early for a few days, but then they give in to the temptation of sleeping in. They commit to a new habit, but after a week they revert to old patterns. True discipline is not about temporary effort, it is about long-term commitment. Waking up at 5 a.m. is an effective way to develop this commitment because it is a practice that must be repeated every single day. It is not enough to be disciplined occasionally. Discipline must be ingrained as a way of life. The act of waking up early every morning reinforces this principle. It establishes the habit of consistency, which carries over into every other goal an individual pursues. Waking up early also forces an individual to take responsibility for their time. Many people complain that they don't have enough hours in the day to pursue their goals, but in reality, they waste significant amounts of time. They stay up late scrolling through their phones, watching mindless entertainment, or engaging in activities that do not contribute to their long-term success. When a person commits to waking up at 5 a.m., they are forced to become intentional about their schedule. They must go to bed at a reasonable hour, eliminate time-wasting habits, and structure their day with purpose. This process cultivates a mindset of ownership, an understanding that time is a limited resource that must be used wisely. One of the greatest benefits of waking up early is the development of mental toughness. In life, there will always be obstacles, setbacks, and hardships. The ability to endure discomfort and persist through challenges is what separates successful individuals from those who give up. Waking up at 5 a.m. is a way to build this mental toughness on a daily basis. It is not easy, and that is exactly the point. By deliberately choosing to do something difficult every morning, an individual strengthens their capacity to handle adversity in other areas of life. When difficult situations arise, whether in career, relationships, or personal development, the person who has trained themselves to push through discomfort will be far more equipped to handle them. Many people wait for motivation before taking action, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. And if a person depends on it, they will never achieve anything of significance. Discipline, on the other hand, is dependable. It does not fluctuate based on emotions. Waking up at 5 a.m. is a direct challenge to the idea that action should be based on motivation. There will be mornings when a person does not feel like getting up, but if they push through that resistance, they prove to themselves that they are capable of acting regardless of mood. This lesson is invaluable. It teaches that action comes first and motivation follows. Those who rely on motivation will always struggle with inconsistency. Those who develop discipline will always move forward regardless of circumstances. The decision to wake up at 5 a.m. is a symbolic act as much as a practical one. It represents the rejection of mediocrity, the refusal to be controlled by comfort, and the commitment to mastering oneself. In a world where most people take the easy path, those who choose discipline stand out. They accomplish more, they develop greater confidence, and they build lives that are structured rather than chaotic. Every morning, when an individual makes the choice to wake up early, they reinforce the identity of someone who is in control of their own destiny. They are not ruled by impulse, laziness, or fleeting desires. They are driven by purpose, structure, and an unshakable commitment to becoming the best version of themselves. The way a person starts their day has a profound impact on how the rest of it unfolds. Every morning presents an opportunity to set the tone, to establish momentum, and to create a structured foundation upon which the day will be built. Waking up at 5 a.m. allows an individual to take control of this process, ensuring that the first hours of the day are not dictated by external forces but by deliberate intention. The morning is a time when the mind is at its most clear, before the distractions of the world begin to pull attention in multiple directions. It is a period of stillness, of focus, and of opportunity. Those who utilize these early hours effectively gain an advantage that compounds over time. One of the key benefits of waking up at 5 a.m. is the ability to engage in deep, uninterrupted work. In the modern world, distractions are everywhere: emails, phone calls, notifications, and the constant demands of others. The later a person wakes up, the more they are immediately thrown into this chaos, reacting rather than acting with purpose. When an individual wakes up early, however, they create a window of time that belongs entirely to them. There are no urgent emails, no meetings, no interruptions. It is a period of solitude, allowing for deep concentration and high-level thinking. This is when meaningful work can be done. Work that requires creativity, problem-solving, and long-term planning. Many of history's greatest thinkers, writers, and leaders have used the early morning hours for precisely this reason. They understood that the mind is at its sharpest when it is not yet fatigued by the demands of the day. The concept of momentum is critical to understanding why early mornings are so powerful. Once the day begins, the trajectory is often set within the first few hours. If a person wakes up late, scrambles to get ready, and rushes into their obligations, they start the day in a state of disorder. This disorganized beginning often leads to a scattered, unfocused day. On the other hand, when a person wakes up at 5 a.m. and immediately engages in structured, purposeful activities, they create a sense of momentum that carries through the rest of the day. Completing meaningful tasks early provides a sense of accomplishment that fuels further productivity. A person who starts the day with discipline and focus is far more likely to maintain that discipline throughout the day. Another powerful aspect of waking up early is the ability to establish and reinforce positive habits. Many people struggle to find time for activities that contribute to their long-term well-being, exercise, meditation, journaling, or reading. By waking up at 5 a.m., an individual carves out dedicated time for these practices, ensuring that they are not neglected amidst the busyness of the day. Small, consistent habits practiced every morning accumulate into significant results over time. The person who dedicates time each morning to reading will, over the course of a year, have consumed an immense amount of knowledge. The person who exercises every morning will build a body that is strong, resilient, and capable. The person who takes time for reflection and planning will develop a clearer sense of purpose and direction. These habits, when practiced consistently, create a foundation for long-term success. Beyond personal habits, waking up early also allows an individual to take a proactive rather than reactive approach to life. Most people spend their days in a constant state of reaction, responding to emails, handling unexpected problems, and dealing with the urgent rather than the important. This reactive mode leaves little room for strategic thinking or long-term planning. When a person wakes up at 5 a.m., they create time to intentionally plan their day, set clear objectives, and ensure that their actions align with their broader goals. Rather than being swept up in the chaos of the day, they enter it with a clear sense of purpose, knowing exactly what they intend to accomplish. This level of intentionality leads to far greater effectiveness in both personal and professional life. There is also a psychological aspect to waking up early that should not be overlooked. The act of rising at 5 a.m. requires discipline, and discipline breeds confidence. Each morning when a person makes the choice to wake up early, they reinforce their ability to control their own actions. This builds self-respect and a sense of personal mastery. When an individual consistently follows through on their commitments, especially commitments that require overcoming discomfort, they develop a strong sense of trust in themselves. They know that they are capable of doing what needs to be done regardless of how they feel in the moment. This confidence extends beyond the morning routine and influences every area of life. A person who has trained themselves to wake up at 5 a.m. despite fatigue or temptation will be far more capable of following through on difficult goals, making tough decisions, and persevering through adversity. The early morning hours also provide an opportunity for reflection and self-awareness. In the quiet of the morning, before the noise of the world intrudes, an individual can engage in introspection, examining their thoughts, emotions, and priorities. This practice is invaluable in a world that is constantly demanding attention and energy. Many people go through life without ever taking the time to reflect on whether they are truly moving in the direction they want to go. They are so caught up in the busyness of the day that they fail to pause and ask themselves fundamental questions. Am I living in alignment with my values? Am I making progress toward my goals? Am I spending my time in a way that is meaningful? Waking up early provides a dedicated space for this kind of self-examination, allowing for greater clarity and intentionality in life. Another significant advantage of waking up at 5 a.m. is the ability to experience the world in a different way. There is something uniquely powerful about being awake before the rest of the world. The stillness, the quiet, the sense of having a head start, it all contributes to a psychological edge. It creates a feeling of control, as if one is operating on a different level than the majority of people who are still asleep. This sense of advantage is not just psychological, it translates into real-world results. The extra time allows for more work to be done, more goals to be pursued, and more progress to be made. Over months and years, this accumulated advantage becomes significant. The person who consistently wakes up early and utilizes that time effectively will, over the course of their life, achieve exponentially more than the person who constantly starts their day late and in disarray. There is also a social component to waking up early that should not be ignored. In many cultures and professional environments, the most successful individuals are those who demonstrate initiative, responsibility, and self-discipline. Being the person who consistently wakes up early signals these traits, both to oneself and to others. It sets a standard of excellence and separates an individual from the majority. The discipline of waking up early is often correlated with success because it reflects a deeper commitment to mastery and achievement. Employers, colleagues, and peers recognize the difference between someone who is in control of their time and someone who is constantly struggling to keep up. The habits that are developed in the early hours of the morning influence the way a person is perceived and the opportunities that come their way. Ultimately, waking up at 5 a.m. is not just about gaining extra time. It is about taking control of one's life. It is a statement of intent, a decision to live with purpose rather than passivity. The person who masters their mornings masters their days, and the person who masters their days masters their life. Each morning presents a choice to wake up early, take control and build momentum, or to delay, react, and fall into the patterns of mediocrity that dominate the lives of so many. Those who choose the path of discipline and intentionality will always stand apart. They will accomplish more, experience greater fulfillment, and ultimately shape their destiny rather than being shaped by it.